Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Graham Cracker J and you are watching Graham Cracker J TV. So we're gonna get into the story time, but before we get into it, if you like mukbangs, vlogs, and just random content, I am your girl. Hit that subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you know every time I post. Now, if you've been on my channel, you know that I'm not always the best with keeping on track in a story. So I write mine down on my laptop. This is the story we have today. And it just makes it easier for me to get the whole story out. Y'all, it's just the way I have to do it. So if you don't like being read to, or like you like a lot of face contact, this is probably not your video. This story took place on my 25th birthday. I was waiting out a rental with my ex-boyfriend. I had broke things off with him and we still had 6 months of this rental agreement. And if you've been there, you've been there. Him and I were cordial, but at this point I was ready to break free of him. My ex was dead weight. We will call him Albert. I shared a room with my daughter in this 2-bedroom apartment, and he had his own room. My ex was a homebody. It was hard to get him to leave the house. But if I truly wanted to get him out of the house, I would ask if he wanted to play Pokemon Go with me. Y'all, I'm not afraid to admit that I love Pokemon Go, and he did too. That was the one thing him and I liked to do with each other. Other than that, him and I didn't have much in common. If you've been subscribed for a while to my channel, you'd know I'm a very adventure-driven person. I love exploring and being outside. So there's the backstory, y'all. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to no power in the apartment. I saw that our neighbors had power and we didn't. I went to Albert's room and asked him if he had paid the electric bill. He said he had forgot to pay it, y'all.
Looking stupid.
Y'all, I was heated. I told him he needs to get up and go pay that bill. We lived right across from the town hall where we paid our electric bill. Albert was 6'8". One step for him is 5 for me. Oh, and I failed to mention, him and I have the same birthday, January 20th. He is 5 years older than me. 25 plus 5 equals 30. So just think about a 30-year-old man saying he forgot to pay the electric bill. Like I said, I was ready to move out and away from him. 40 minutes pass and Albert comes back to the apartment and he says he doesn't have enough money to turn the power back on. I looked at his hands and saw that Albert went to the bodega after he left town hall. I looked at the bag and grabbed it. I saw he had snacks in this bag. I took some chips out of the bag of snacks and some of the other snacks he bought. Albert looked at me like I had shot him, y'all.
Are you kidding me?
I looked him in the face and was like, this is the least you can do. I'm in an apartment with no power. I asked him, what money do you have to pay the electric? He told me $50. So I told him we are going to the bank. Y'all, when we got to the bank, I followed him to see the amount of money he had in his account. Albert had lied. He really had $100.
Wow, how disappointing was that?
I told him to take the whole 100 out. He did. Y'all, I was really, really toxic in these days. And when I got mad, I wasn't one you'd want to be around. I make your life hell. And Albert knew this. I was furious. I had to deal with this on my birthday. I had plans later on that day to go to Texas Roadhouse and to shop for some new clothes. I had saved up just for my birthday to do something nice for myself. I used to not celebrate my birthday before I was 24, mainly because I didn't have a good paying job. But this 24th birthday was different. I had a decent paying job and I decided to go all out. All right. Y'all, I'm so bad. I'm still like, I'm not mad at this anymore. I'm just like, if the old me knew what the new me knew, she wouldn't have been with this bum. Anyway, let's get back. After he took the money out of the bank, I took it and we went over to the town hall. Waiting in the line for someone to help us took 10 minutes. Y'all, I couldn't even look at Albert. I was mad that he lied to me about his $100. He was really greedy, but he knew he was responsible for the electric bill. He agreed to pay it. So we finally get up to the lady and I give her the apartment information. She pulls up the bills and tells me that the electric bill is... Whew. Y'all, stop and guess. Like, put down a guess in the comments how much you think this electric bill was. She tells me the bill is $350. Yes, you heard me. $350. And included in that $350 were the fees that we were getting because we weren't paying the bill. Albert knew that during the winter time, if the weather drops below a certain degrees, the electric company can't shut off the power. What is that? Oh no! At this point, I wanted to kick this man in his good knee. He had a messed up knee and always complained about it. So I used to tell him that all the time when I was mad. Yes, I was toxic, I know. But I mean, you'd be mad too. I paid the remainder of the bill and they told me the power will be on in 2 hours. Y'all, I dropped off my ex and I drove off. Mind you, my daughter was with us the whole time. She felt the tension in the air. This man ruined my birthday. Crazy thing is, he didn't care. He was happy he didn't have to pay the bill fully. Trifling. Y'all, I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I needed to not see Albert's face.
She has an launcher. Her car can move.
I got on the phone with my best friend. We will call him Sagittarius. I started crying. I was so mad and sad that I couldn't do what I really wanted. And all the overtime I worked for my birthday had been for nothing. Sagittarius knew how excited I was about going to Texas Roadhouse and getting the biggest steak on the menu. Him and I talked about it at work. Sagittarius was going to go to Texas Roadhouse with me. He had put money to the side for it. Now, normally Sagittarius would say, no worries, I got you. But it was the end of the month. He had just paid his rent and other bills. I didn't want him to spend that money on me anyway, because he had already got me a good gift. And I wouldn't let him pay even if he had offered. That's just not me. Our Sagittarius told me to come over to his apartment and chill a little, and we'll find something to get into. Now, just some background on Sagittarius. He is gay and lives alone in his apartment. Him and I met at work and used to chill all the time together. He knew I was a mother and would have to bring my daughter. He showed my daughter and I cool places around the city and outside of the city. We had plenty of adventures, and most of those adventures didn't cost much. He knew I was a single mother and had to pay the majority of the rent because Albert was a lazy jerk. When I got to Sagittarius's house, he had shots ready for me to take and also had a show on for my daughter to entertain her. Y'all, I took those shots, no chaser. My anger was still boiling. I just kept thinking about kicking Albert in his good knee. Sagittarius ordered hot wings prior to me getting there. He knew hot wings are my favorite food, and while we were eating, I was playing Pokemon Go. Sagittarius said we should go play Pokemon and try to turn all of the gyms to Team Instinct. And let me just explain Pokemon Go to you guys if you've never played this game. Pokemon Go is an active game that makes you go to certain areas and battle other Pokemon. There are teams in Pokemon Go: Mystic, Valor, Team Instinct. We were Yellow Team, which were the underdogs of the teams. Not many people were yellow at the time, and most of the gyms were either blue or red. All right, so now that you know. We get in the car and start playing Pokemon Go. We go to parks, railroads. We battled all of the gyms we came across. We were determined to turn the city all instinct yellow. During this time, I was texting this girl I liked, and she asked if we could pick her up from a party. I asked Sagittarius, and he said it was fine. So we picked her up, and she was intoxicated. So she wanted to go to a gas station to get something to eat. We headed over to AC&T and got snacks, and we loaded up on food too. Honestly, Sagittarius and I didn't realize the last time we ate was around 12 p.m. and it was 7 p.m. now. We were so into Pokemon Go, we lost track of time. Mind you, my daughter's in the back seat and is into Pokemon Go as much as we are. Before we left the parking lot of the gas station, we had already had a gym to go to. Sagittarius and I are stuffing our face so we wouldn't have our hands full for the next gym. The girl I was talking to at the time was in the back seat. She was helping with the gyms. Let's call her Bull. Bull downloaded the Pogo game a while back because she wanted to spend time with me. I was always playing this game. I worked in an office throughout the week, so I wanted to be out in nature and active. Bull liked car rides and liked to just go along for the rides at times. She wasn't as into the game as I was and my other friends. So fast forward, it's 9 p.m. and we have most of the city Team Instinct. Sagittarius said we should go over this one street. Let's call it Berry Street. This street is known in our city as one of the more rougher parts. Just keep that in mind. But it only has 2 gyms, and we didn't have to get out of the car to battle the gym. So we headed over to Berry Street, and these gyms were tough. It took us about 40 minutes to beat both of these gyms. I searched the map after beating this gym on Berry Street and pointed out that the dog park gym should be next. We headed over to the dog park, and Sagittarius and I started battling the gym. At this point, Bull was over Pogo and was flipping through her socials. All of a sudden, cars surround Sagittarius's car and bright lights coming from every angle. Y'all, I saw red, white, and blue lights. And Sagittarius and I looked at each other like, what the fuck? Like, we were scared. Like, y'all, the best way to explain it is that the car was lit so much, like there were so many lights on the car that we literally couldn't make out what was behind us until we saw the red, white, and blue lights. They all had the lights just pointed right at us. We heard an officer on a microphone telling us to put our hands up, and we put our hands up, and 2 task officers come to the front windows after looking at the back seats with their lights. Sagittarius rolled down the windows, and they asked us to get out of the car. Y'all, I was scared. I saw all the cars cornering us into the parking lot. There were about 10 task force cops surrounding us with huge guns strapped to them. Now, Bull didn't get out of the car. I'm sure the cops assumed that my daughter was Bull's kid, and they didn't want to scare my daughter by taking her mother out of the car. Mind you, I get that a lot with my daughter. If my sister or Bull were around my daughter in public, strangers assumed my daughter is my sister's or Bull's. Anyways, Sagittarius and I are out of the car. We can make out the officers faintly from the lights flashed on us. The officers asked us what we were doing, and I let Sagittarius do the talking. He told the officers that we were playing Pogo and that we were celebrating my birthday. The officers asked to see our license, and when we went to the car, I told Bull they needed her ID. And you know what this girl said? Like, mind you, all the pressure and all of this stuff, like, I'm anxious. Like, throughout this whole, like, situation, I'm just letting Sagittarius talk. Like, I'm letting him do what he needs to do, and I'm just, whew. So, like, this right here agitated me. Bull said, why do they need my ID? And she was kind of aggressive when she was like, why do they need my ID? Like, I'm like, sis, you didn't even get out in front of all these cop cars. Like, I feel like she didn't know what the hell was going on at this point. I told her they thought we were doing drugs because of the stops we were making on Berry Street. Bull gave her ID to me with attitude. I passed them to the task officers. The officer looked at my ID and said happy birthday to me.
Bruh.
I laughed sarcastically, y'all. I told him this has been a birthday I'll never forget. I was a little irritated when he said that because I'm just like, really? Like, if you only knew the whole birthday, like all of it, like this was the icing on the cake right here. Task let us go and Sagittarius and I dropped off Bull. At this point, I was annoyed with Bull because she was being whiny. And I still was trying to understand what I just went through. All the lights, guns, and officers. I was feeling the adrenaline rush and was snappy. Sagittarius drove my daughter and I home. My daughter was sleeping in the car seat, so Sagittarius and I just sat and talked in the car about what went down. He was shaking like I was, and he didn't want to go home rattled up. Mind y'all. And if you remember, he lives alone, so like he didn't have someone to go home to. I never was alone because Albert was always in the home. So like I didn't have to be scared or fearful or anything like that. I knew if anything were to happen, I know Albert would take care of us. Now, if we were a bill, it'd be something else. But so we just sat in the car and just talked until he calmed down. And it was around 12:01 when he was like, okay, I think it's time for me to go home. He calmed down and we kind of started laughing about it. Like, we're like, this really happened. And he's like, it's your birthday, sis. It's your birthday. And I'm like, yeah, this is a wild birthday of mine. After we were done talking, it was around 12:01. So my birthday was over at that point. We went up. I went to sleep. My daughter went to sleep. Like, the next morning, there was a lot of tension in the house. The next morning, I didn't even tell Albert this story until like later on because I was just so mad at him, y'all. Like, he really let me down, and he let me down a lot of times. I do have some story times with Albert in it. If you guys want to hear that, comment down below Albert's story. And if you like this story time, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified every time I post. I appreciate y'all watching, and I will see y'all later.